Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So good evening, near and dear. So glad we could gather. And we're, of course, studying the life of Holy Mother. The Supreme Brahman itself has now come down as Sri Ramakrishna. We have seen with our own eyes how infinite was his forgiveness, how wonderful was his mercy. As for Holy Mother, there can be no comparison with her. As for Holy Mother, there can be no comparison with her. She is none other than the Mother of the universe. I have even heard that when someone came and reported to her that somebody had committed the most despicable, sinful act, the mother heard the whole report gravely. The mother heard the whole report gravely. Then the reporter requested the mother, if you summon him and take him to task a little, it will be good. The mother reported, my son, it is all very well for you to talk like that, but I am his mother. To you, he may be an offender and so detestable, but to his mother, he is not so. Being his mother, can I hate my son? So wonderful was her forgiveness. All these things have happened before our eyes. The monks consulted Holy Mother whenever any question arose regarding the ideal of the Ramakrishna order, and they accepted her answer without hesitation. They knew the Master was working through her. In January 1901, Vivekananda went to Advaita Ashrama at Mayavati in the Himalayas and stayed there for a couple of weeks. He dedicated this ashrama to Advaita and to Advaita alone, and decreed that no ritual should ever be performed there and no shrine set up. He established this center for people who cherish the monistic ideal, especially Westerners, so that they could practice the non-dualistic. He established this center for people who cherish the monastic ideal, especially Westerners, so that they could practice the non-dualistic philosophy of Vedanta. One morning, Swamiji happened to enter a room in the ashrama building and found a shrine with a picture of Ramakrishna. A monk was performing a worship with flowers, sandal paste, and other offerings. Swamiji said nothing at the time, but that evening, when all the members were gathered around the fireplace, he vehemently expressed his disapproval of ritualistic worship in Advaita Ashrama. He asked the ashrama members to pay attention only to the subjective side of religion, practicing meditation, studying the scriptures and absorbing the monistic ideal, free from dualistic weakness or dependence. He did not order them to close the shrine or hurt the feelings of those who were in favor of the ritual. He did not order them to close the shrine or hurt the feelings of those who were in favor of the ritual. He wanted them to see their mistake and rectify it. They closed the shrine on 18 March 1902. After returning to Belur Swamiji remarked, "I thought of having one center at least from which the external worship of Sri Ramakrishna would be excluded, but I found that the old man had already established himself even there." Well, well. That's how he referred to Sri Ramakrishna as the old man. You know, this is, you have to think Sri Ramakrishna left the body at age 50, and Vivekananda had known him since he was a teenager, of course. So to Vivekananda, he was the old man. I had thought of having one center at least from which the external worship of Sri Ramakrishna would be excluded, but I found that the old man had already established himself even there. Well, well. Later, soon after Vivekananda's passing away, his disciple Swami Vimalananda, is that right? Vimalananda, who favored the dualistic ideal, wrote to Holy Mother and asked her to clarify the matter. She answered his letter from Jairambati on 31 August 1902. He who is our Guru, Ramakrishna, as is an Advaitin, non-dualist. Since you are all his disciples, you too are Advaitins. I can emphatically say that you are all definitely non-dualists. This letter settled the issue for the members of the Advaita ashrama, and dualist and ritualistic worship was never performed there again. Are there any thoughts or questions about why Vivekananda felt so strongly about that?
Is it still the same situation at Mayavati today, or
That's what we're told. I haven't been, but Swami Atmarupananda, who's now in Houston, has been, and the last I heard from him is that it was still in that state. If you'd like, you can call him in Houston. He's very welcoming if you call him on the phone. I spoke to him just last night, as a matter of fact.
Okay. So Swamiji was completely a full believer in Advaita, not in
No,
bit of dualism.
Swamiji said of himself, well, he said of Sri Ramakrishna and himself, he said, Ramakrishna is all bhakta on the outside and all jnani on the inside. I, on the other hand, am all jnani on the outside and all bhakta on the inside. So he definitely not only observed the bhakta path, but saw it as a non-dual path, as Mother had outlined. But it's just a different way of being one with the divine. But Swamiji was all about heart and love. I mean, if you read his letters, if you study his life, he was all about heart. Anyone else have anything? Thank you, Sham.
Yeah, but isn't it very hard to practice that way? Because we have nothing before us.
Well, there's no imperative, Sham. There's no imperative. There's no doctrine or dogma or any such thing in the Ramakrishna lineage. If you wish to practice as an out and out dualist, the master supports it. Mother would support it. She was constantly doing worship. But she saw it as worshiper and worshipped are one. As Swamiji says in the song of the Sannyasin, praiser praised, blamer blamed are one. But because we're embodied, we're going to have a different sensation about it, particularly at this time in the Kali Yuga. As Sri Ramakrishna remarked, we are so dependent on our senses and on food. So it's very, as you were gesturing toward, Sham, it's hard to think non-dualistically constantly, but one doesn't have to. One can have this wonderful relationship with the divine that matures and matures until finally there is this unceasing desire to be united with your beloved. Anything else from anyone?
Namaste, Brother Shankara.
Hello, Shailash.
Now, I remember a conversation we had in one of these Tuesday classes when Swami Yogeshananda was there. And I think it was not Tuesday class, it was Wednesday class, and he was taking some Jnana Yoga class on Thursday maybe. And I happened to be there. And what he said was that the Jnani, the Bhaktas think that the path of Jnana is very dry and there cannot be a loving relationship with the divine. That is not true. And what he said is that there are people, and they're all at that time in that class, I remember, were all these followers of path of Jnana. One of them was Bernard and some other people, and he said that there are people who have divine relationship with the path of Jnana, and it is possible. And if you look up, and that's part one, and part two is that now I'm thinking, if you look up devotees who follow Ramana Maharshi or Nisargadatta, that's little, I mean, it is non-dual, not in terms of Shankara, but being in the present moment. And like I read an art, like the other day when I read you a line from I Am That, Nisargadatta says that you stay in the awareness and come back again and again, and then eventually everything will fall into place and you will see how you proceed further and further and further. So that maybe, that relationship does develop with that. I'm sure there is something, and I'm attending the classes with this Nisargadatta group on Sundays, and they talk about it. I mean, I listen to, and the experiences or the path on the practices they're doing. It definitely thinks that there is a lot. These are advanced people. There is a lot happens. But of course, I'm a solid devotee. Bhakta, and like you said, it's much easier to develop the loving relationship with divine, and for me, it is easier.
Yes. And Vivekananda is very clear about that. It's the easier path, the more natural path, slower, but so what? We don't have to be in a hurry. And to come from the heart, as Vivekananda himself did, is to be in the world in a way that is very uplifting to others. And so that's one of the reasons to make sure that the heart center is open, so that you receive the world and give to the world from there. Anything else? Thank you, Shailesh. That was good.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Swayam.
I was listening to a talk today by the Swami from the Washington Center. I can't remember his name.
Swami Atmagyanananda.
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
And the talk was titled From Doubt to Realization.
Uh-huh.
And the one thing I remember from there is he said that a path is just a path.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the end point. And he also said a quote that is attributed to Swami Turyananda.
Mm-hmm.
And what he said was, in matters of opinion, swim with the current, but in matters of principle, stand firm as a rock.
Mm-hmm.
And
That sounds
what
like
I got from
Turyananda,
that
all right.
is, yeah. So the Swami said that the path is basically, again, I forgot exactly how he correlated with the word darshana, which is not really a vision, but it is a point of view.
Yes.
So
It's a
that
way
that
of
was
seeing.
his sort of.
A darshana is a way of seeing. That's why they're saying that the six classical darshanas are different ways of seeing the same thing. And from that springs the aphorism, truth is one, sages call it by many names. Every one of us, without exception, is unique. And so eventually, as we pursue our spiritual journey, our uniqueness will manifest as that unique relationship with the divine. The divine is by definition infinite. We are also, in our true original nature, infinite. And so we will find our expression as spiritual beings within that infinitude. And Vivekananda gave a talk, and it was one of the few things published actually as a paper while he was in London. And the title was Every Man His Own Sect, S-E-C-T. Every Man His Own Sect. Of course, the pronoun was just an artifact of the way people spoke at the time. Every human being, their own sect. So yes, and when Swami Atmagyanananda was saying a path is just a path, that's what was being gestured to when it was said that there is no doctrine, there is no dogma. There are guideposts, there are guidelines, there are suggestions, there are ways of thinking about things that are more constructive than, the difference between the pleasant and the good. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Shankar.
Anything else from anyone? All right. When Swami Vivekananda established the Ramakrishna order, he also envisioned a monastic order for women. When Sharat Chakraborty doubted there would be enough suitable women to start an order, Swamiji replied, "Even now there are some women devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. I shall start this monastery with their help." The monastery being Belrumat. I shall start this monastery with their help. He ordained some of these people when he was here in the West. Some of these people he's talking about, the woman devotees. Holy Mother will be the central figure, and the wives and daughters of the Master's devotees will be the first inmates. They will easily appreciate the usefulness of such a mat. Then, following their example, many householders will help this noble work. With Holy Mother as the center of inspiration, a mat is to be established on the eastern bank of the Ganges. As brahmacharins and sadhu will be trained in this mat, Belur mat. So the other mat, also brahmacharinis and sadhavis, will be trained. Swamiji's wish was fulfilled in 1954 during events celebrating Holy Mother's birth centenary, when a small piece of land with a few buildings was procured at Dakshineshwar and Sarada Mat was established. And it continues and it thrives, and it is a remarkable institution, and they are remarkable women. I heard about them directly from John Schlink, who lived here with me for almost 18 months. And John was one of the few men who had ever spent any length of time in Sharda Mat itself. And the reason he did that, the reason he was invited to do that, is because of the music he wrote and the fact that he was coming there to perform it. And so he told me, and some of their nuns have visited the West. Vivekaprana has been here. I don't know if she still comes. Of course, no one's coming now during the pandemic, but okay. It was Swamiji who named Holy Mother, oh my goodness, Sangha Janani, the mother of the order. It was Swamiji who named Holy Mother Sangha Janani, the mother of the order. She always nurtured and protected the order, especially during critical times. In December 1916, Lord Carmichael, the governor of Bengal, accused the Ramakrishna mission of giving shelter to political revolutionaries under the umbrella of its philanthropic activities, saying, "They often seize the opportunity which membership in a charitable society like the Ramakrishna mission or participation in the relief of the distressed give them to meet and to influence the boys who have noble ideas but who have not enough experience to judge where a particular course must lead." The government discovered that some revolutionaries had been inspired by Vivekananda's books, So they surmised that the monks of the Ramakrishna order were behind the freedom movement. The governor's remark created great apprehension among the monastics as well as the general public. Some well-wishers of the mission suggested that Saradananda remove those monks who had a revolutionary background from the order. But Swami Saradananda was deeply concerned about the nature of those dedicated, pure, and noble souls. Saradananda recalled, "I went to Holy Mother and informed her of the whole situation. She listened to me calmly and then said firmly, 'My goodness, what is the matter? The Master was the embodiment of truth. These boys have taken shelter in the Master, embraced his ideal, and become monks, renouncing their families. They have shunned personal worldly enjoyment and dedicated their lives to serve the country and suffering people. My son, why would they pretend? You had better go to the governor and meet him. He is the representative of the king. If you explain to him the activities of the Ramakrishna mission, he will definitely listen.'" Now, what a promise Mother was making. She said to Saradananda, "Go to him. He will listen." Another eyewitness recorded that after listening to everything, Holy Mother firmly said, "The Ramakrishna Mat and mission have come into existence by the will of the Master to break the rules of the monastic order due to the pressure and rage of the government is adharma, unrighteous. Those who have taken the monastic vows and surrendered to the Master will stay in the monastery. Otherwise, no one should stay here. My children will take shelter under a tree and nonetheless will not deviate from the truth." The Mother's resolute statement reassured everyone in the order. Swami Premananda joyfully remarked, "Now there is a satisfactory solution on this matter." Saradananda followed Holy Mother's advice. He consulted with the attorney Dasharati somebody say that last word, please. Dasharati Sanyal,
Yes.
one of Swamiji's former classmates, and they prepared a memorandum on behalf of the governing body of the Ramakrishna Mat and mission. On 23 January 1917, Saradananda met with Mr. Gorley, the governor's chief secretary, and handed the memorandum to him. On 2 March, Mr. Gorley and Mr. Denham, a high-ranking police official, came to Bellermat to meet with Saradananda. They arranged for him to speak with the governor on 10 March. On that day, the Swami talked to the governor for nearly an hour. He was able to remove the governor's misgivings regarding the activities of the Ramakrishna mission. Following the meeting, Lord Carmichael wrote Saradananda on 26 March 1917. "Dear Sir, I thank you for having come to see me and for the trouble you have taken to tell me about the origin of the Ramakrishna mission and its aims and objects. I read with great interest the memorial which the mission authorities submitted to me some time ago. I regret very much to hear that words used by me at the Durbar in December at last regarding the mission should have led in any way to the curtailment of the good religious, social, and educational work the mission has done and is doing. As you, I know, realize my object was not to condemn the Ramakrishna mission and its members. I know the character of the mission's work is entirely non-political and I have heard nothing but good of its work of social service for the people. Yours very sincerely, Carmichael. Yours very sincerely. Now, for someone from the Raj to write in that way in 1917 indicates that he was genuinely moved and genuinely felt informed and believed, as Mother said, believed what Saradananda said. What a joyous thing that must have been. Any comments or questions at all about?
There is a small detail I would like to add here, and it's in the God Lived with Them book by Chetanananda about Swami Saradananda. So the governor actually, when he made that comment, he was quite serious. And when he came to Belur Math, there were obviously some officials with him, and on the other side, Swami Saradananda and some other monks. They personally went and welcomed him. And they took him near the temple, and Swami Saradananda got onto the floor and removed the governor's shoes personally. And some of the monks didn't like it at all, but he was very, very like humble. And then he took him inside the shrine, and with that just touch and that vibrations, I think that his mind probably was with his sincerity and genuineness, and then they had that talk. So I think that that made a big impact when he took him to the shrine. That's how I see it. And if you read that book, it's in there in detail.
I read it, but it was a long, long time ago,
Yeah.
Shailesh, and I thank you for reminding us of it.
So that made a big difference, I think. I mean,
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did.
Sincerity. Yeah.
I'm sure it did. Made a big difference indeed. Yours very sincerely, Carmichael. Now, the governor of Bengal was the governor of the capital of India at that time. He wasn't the head official of all India, but he was the governor of the province that was the capital of India. So this was not some minor league official. Anything else from anyone? All right. It was very unusual for a British governor to apologize for a statement and withdraw it in writing. This removed the cloud of doubt that hung over the Ramakrishna mission. Can you imagine the joy? And of course, even the governor of Bengal cannot resist the mother of the universe and her servant Saradananda. It is very unusual. It was very unusual for a British governor to apologize for a statement and withdraw it in writing. This removed the cloud of doubt that hung over the Ramakrishna mission. It is natural for every organization to go through ups and downs. However, the mother guided the Ramakrishna order in the right direction, and thus the journey of the Ramakrishna mission continued triumphantly with her blessings. And I'm sure that's how it felt. Now, mind you, this was the middle of the First World War. It was a terrible time. Europe was coming to absolute pieces. The traditional Europe that had been was literally coming to pieces, as Swami Vivekananda predicted it would, because of their materialism and their self-centeredness. If you look into the records, there was really no good cause for World War I. It was all about self-centeredness. it was horrible. The Ramakrishna mission is well known for its philanthropic activities. The Ramakrishna mission is well known for its philanthropic activities, including relief work when there is any natural disaster. Holy Mother always encouraged the monks to help suffering people when needed. In the last part of 1918, there was a famine in Orissa. Swami Saradananda went to Puri to supervise the mission's relief work. Now, he was the general secretary of the order. This is the CEO, the chief executive officer. Swami Saradananda went to Puri to supervise the mission's relief work. He wrote a long letter to the mother describing the suffering of the people and requested her to pray to the master. Prabodh Chattopadhyay, a disciple of the mother, read the letter to her. She listened to the letter and cried, saying, Master, I can't see or hear of any more suffering. Please stop the people's pain and misery. I'm going to read that again. She listened to the letter and cried, saying, Master, I can't see or hear of any more suffering. Please stop the people's pain and misery. Then she said to Prabodh, do you notice the gigantic heart of Sharat? He is like Vasiki?
Vasuki?
Vasiki? He is like Vasiki. Somebody tell me what that means. What is Vasiki that who is being compared to?
Brother, there is a meaning at the bottom of the page for Vasuki, I think. It's a mythological 1,000-hooded snake who carries the whole universe on his head. That's what it is, Vasuki.
Now I have an image. Yes, I remember that. Okay, he is like Vasiki. Whenever there is rain, Sharat spreads an umbrella. Sharat is a large-hearted person, and his heart cries out on behalf of suffering beings. He is serving and feeling all like a protector. Then she prayed, Master, supply Sharat with everything. Give him plenty so that he can provide enough for all. Now, many of you already know this, but those of you who don't, the Ramakrishna order, because of its purity, because of its complete dedication to serving the suffering, has become the trusted partner of the Indian government over decades. So that when there is something to be done, the government will not only depend on its own personnel and the military and so on to help, but it will give, I don't know, thousands and hundreds and thousands of rupees, and lots of money, let's just put it that way, to the order, knowing that not one anna of it, not one little bit of it, will be misappropriated, misused, or somehow slide into a corrupt use. This the Ramakrishna order has maintained over decades. And anyone who is a member of the order who doesn't cooperate with that will be first corrected. And if their behavior does not change, then they will be asked to leave the order. So that purity is maintained. And some people say they're obsessive compulsive about it. Well, I say, well and good. Let them be very, very fierce about it, because the government can give them money, as I say, lots of money, to distribute and to use as the order sees fit. And they don't have to second guess or wonder if the accounts have been fudged. So that would be unusual anywhere in the world for any organization to have that reputation. Before we go on to the next chapter, any thoughts or comments or questions? Okay, we have time to go on to the next chapter. At Udbodhan House. Now, just to remind you, the mother had been living here and there in Calcutta, rented homes, staying with devotees, and so on. Saradananda thought this was insupportable. And so he did something very unusual for a monk. He borrowed a great deal of money for the time. I don't remember the amount. But in any event, a very sizable sum of money. And he built Udbodhan House. He built it as a home for mother. The upper stories were for the use of the mother. And he and a few monks ran a publication house down below. Very simple quarters, very simple food and clothing. But Saradananda could take care of the mother when she was in Calcutta. And as we know, as we've heard, he also took care of her when she was in Jairambati when there was need. So this was the sharat that mother was speaking of when she said he had this huge heart. And he, of course, paid back all the money. He was the general secretary of the order, so he was able to do the necessary, to not taking money from other purposes like relief work or anything of the kind, but generate the funds through his own efforts to pay back. And so Udbodhan House was mother's home when she was in Calcutta. She didn't have to roam about anymore from place to place. And it was close to the Ganges, so she could go and bathe in the Ganges, which she very much liked to do at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, though she felt herself to be hedged about when she was in Calcutta, she said, I feel like a bird in a cage. Nevertheless, she recognized the necessity of spending time there. And so she did. So she split her time between there and Jairambati, pretty much from the time that Saradananda built the Udbodhan House. At Udbodhan House, Holy Mother always reminded the monks of the Master's great teaching. Adapt according to person, place, and time. The Holy Mother always reminded the monks of the Master's great teaching. Adapt according to person, place, and time. This is especially important in community life because selfishness and egotism disrupt peace and harmony in a monastery or in a family. In 1911, a monk living in Udbodhan house made a serious mistake. Swami Brahmananda asked him to move to Belramat, but the monk was reluctant to do so. Sharadananda reported this to the mother and told her that the monk was disobedient. Holy Mother also asked the monk to go to Belramat, but he would not listen to her either. She then remarked about that monk, "It is not right that he does not listen to the disciples of the Master. He does not like to do any work. Can anyone improve one's mind without work? Can anyone practice japa and meditation 24 hours a day? It is better to have some work. It keeps the mind in good condition." In 1912, a disciple told Holy Mother, "Some say that hospital work, selling books, and accounting are not proper work for monks because the Master did not do such work. A monk is supposed to perform worship, japa, meditation, and kirtan, which turn the mind to God. Other mundane activities turn the mind to the world." Now, let us have ears to hear. Holy Mother listened and then said firmly, "How will you pass the whole day without work? Can anybody practice japa and meditation all 24 hours of the day? You are referring to the Master's life. His life was different. Mathur provided nourishing food for him. You have regular meals because you give some service here. Otherwise, you will have to beg for your food from door to door. That is why my Naren started all these centers for your work. Our organization will function this way. Those who cannot adjust must leave." So this is instruction for all of us. We work. We do what's necessary. As Krishna says in the Gita, you have to be able to provide for yourself. There's no way around it. So those who cannot adjust must leave. Once a monk was leaving the order, and he came to receive the mother's blessings. It was heartbreaking for the mother to see a monk leave. Both she and the monk wept. After a while, the mother wiped her tears with a corner of her sari and asked the monk to wash his face. She affectionately told him, "My son, don't forget me. I know you won't, but still I say so." The monk said, "Mother, will you forget me?" Holy Mother replied, "Can a mother forget her son? Know for certain, I will always be with you. Don't be afraid." When the monk left Udbodhan house, the mother watched him through her window till he was no longer visible. We are all her children. We are all her children. Let us take comfort in that, great comfort in that. Swami Chetanananda, a former station master in Hatras, was the first monastic disciple of Swami Vivekananda. He served his guru in the Ramakrishna order so intensely that he died on 18 February 1911 at the age of 46. Holy Mother came to him during his last illness. On 25 November 1910, during Sadananda's last illness, Holy Mother, along with Yogan Ma and Golap Ma, came to see him. Now, she was with her most sacred, most holy attendants. Holy Sarada Ma, along with Yogan Ma and Golap Ma, came to see him. Sadananda prostrated himself at her feet and said with tears in his eyes, "Mother, please bless me in the same way that you blessed me. Mother, please bless me in the same way you blessed me 22 years ago. With that blessing, I have been able to lead a monastic life. Now the time is come to depart. I do not know what awaits me on the other shore." Mother blessed him and said, "What fear have you, my son? The Master himself is waiting there with open arms to embrace you." But Sadananda was not satisfied. In a voice choked with emotion, he said, "Please bless me once again, the way you blessed me 22 years ago." Holy Mother remained quiet. Seeing this, Sadananda grew all the more restless and said, "Mother, if you do not bless me the way you did before, then sitting at your feet, I shall put an end to my life right now." The compassionate Mother then blessed Sadananda by touching his head with her feet. No one knows how Holy Mother had blessed him 22 years earlier, nor does anyone know what blessing she bestowed upon him that day. Sadananda's devotion to Holy Mother was truly unique. Earlier, Sadananda would often visit the house at Bug Bazaar where Holy Mother lived, yet he would rarely go upstairs to see Holy Mother and pay his obeisance. When asked why, he said, "Everything in spiritual life is attained if one sees Holy Mother but once." These words, which emerged from the innermost depths of his soul, reveal Sadananda's deep devotion to Holy Mother. We have a few minutes before going on. Any comments, questions, thoughts from anyone? Please be forthcoming. This is how we do this together. Anything at all from anyone? Maria, you're new with us. I think this is the first time I've seen you, your face. Is there anything you'd like to ask or say?
I just want to enjoy this time. And I remember in 1993, I went to India from Bombay to Kanyakumari, and I was visiting ashram at that time because I wanted to stay in India, but I couldn't. I was thinking that would be much easier for me since I was not, at that time, was not married, and I didn't have any obligations. So I wanted all the time to be in an ashram, living as an ashramite.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Whitefield. I went to Kanyakumari.
Mm-hmm.
I went to other different other ashrams that Anachi has in Kerala. I stayed with Kerala for almost 2 months. Totally time in India was like close to 3 months, but I want to stay, but they another person. I was so amazed. One of the persons over there told me they have a message for me another time and said he was reading everything about me by looking at me only. No cars, no astrology thing, nothing. He said, I know you came to India, you want to stay here, but this is not the time for you to stay here. You have to go back. In 1 year, you're gonna be marry someone in America. I said, well, I came to India all the way over here, practically renouncing, not thinking about marriage. So now you're telling me that I need to go back. I am very upset about this. So I said, Maria, this is the message, not from me. This is the message from the divine. So you have to go back. So I was just in tears when I went to the airport, Bombay airport, coming back here. But that was true because 1 year I met my husband, and I've been in love since I'm married. I'm still married, and we have harmony, even though he's not in the same direction that I'm going, because and this person also told me that I have so many reincarnations in India, and that's why I want to come back. But before I came back, I went to Kanyakumari, and I went to see this monument it was a monument, Vivekananda or something, that was in the
Yes, a monument to
ocean.
Vivekananda's.
I was in the ocean, and I took picture. My goodness gracious, and something telling me that I have to visit, and I went to the Mahatma Gandhi also is there in the same place. There are 3 oceans meet there, and I was so amazed with that, and I feel so good. I feel so good visiting India. It feels like that was my country. So
Well, Maria, thank you for telling us all these things, and we're very glad you joined us. And please take shelter with us, because this is the Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother's place. This is their energy, and so welcome, and thank you for being part of this. I'm sure it will nurture you a great deal as you stay with us.
I feel something very special when I went to Sunday. I'm visiting the Atlanta Vedanta Center. I've been there. Oh my God, I feel like
Well,
that
I'm glad.
atmosphere, chapel. My goodness gracious, I wanted to stay longer there. This is just, it's like God is filling me with this
Well,
energy there.
thank you.
Chapel, my goodness.
Thank you. Come often to the chapel. The chapel is open every day, 7 days a week. So come as it's practical for you, and bathe in that holy energy that's there. It will soothe you.
It's just so nice to have. It's like a darshan, an invisible darshan. I am receiving this.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you. Anyone else? Anything before we close? Thanks again, Maria, and thank you for entrusting yourself to us. We regard you highly and are glad you were with us.
Well, I feel like I belong to the
Good
family for some way.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll close with the chant for what is needed so greatly now. Let there be peace in outer space. Let there be peace in the sky, on the earth, and in the waters. Let there be peace in the herbs, the plants, and the trees. May the gods be peaceful. May the whole universe be pervaded by peace. Let that infinite universal peace prevail throughout my being. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So until tomorrow night, for those of you who wish to join us for the class on Swami Vivekananda's Jnana Yoga. And then on Saturday, of course, we are studying the book Realizing God, which is a collection of Swami Prabhavananda's talks. And then because his birthday is the next Sunday, someone else is scheduled to speak the next Sunday. But on March 21st, the talk will be on Chaitanya's prayer, the perfect primer. Chaitanya Prabhu's birthday is to be celebrated on March 28th. On March 28th, we will have Dr. Lloyd Allen from the Emory University School of Theology, their seminary, who will speak to us on some aspects of Thomas Merton's work, the great Catholic mystic and monk, Thomas Merton. So those are what will happen in the next 2 weeks on Sunday. And of course, we have all of our regular classes and talks each week. Any final thought from anyone? All right, my dears. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga Durga Durga. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be cheerful. May you have peace of mind. Go forward in the Divine Mother's loving and protective embrace. Until next time, so good to have been with you this evening. Nice to see all your cheerful faces.
Brother Shankara.
Yes, dear.
Thank you, Brother Shankara, and everyone.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you, dear.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Take care.
Good night. Thank you.